I'm leading by example, just being positive on all my posts on social media, all my posts as far as leading my team, leading other people that I mentor. And I just wanted to put it out there, give this out to you guys as far as being able to use this as a resource to know that we're here. It's definitely a time of uncertainty. We don't know what's going on. And Patrick has helped me weather my business and has made me, weather through everything. And especially now is the time that I lean on him. So I wanted to bring, my guest is your guest, and I wanted to bring him to just kind of talk to you guys a little bit about weathering this storm.
Cool. You want to take it from there, Chris?
Yes, absolutely. Here it is, Patrick Precourt. Thank you.
All right. So listen, guys, really quick, just so you have an idea who, even why Chris would bother, asking you guys for your time tonight, right? A little background on me. I've been involved in real estate since the late 90s on the investment side and still heavily involved, more on assisted living space than we are in the retail space now. Through these years, though, gone through a bunch of iterations of where I focus my time. Been a competitive athlete all my life on the rugby side. Got to play the last few years of my rugby internationally, and then as I retired out of that, took a bunch of years off from being physical, and then got re-engaged in the martial arts world, and stepped in an MMA fighting cage for the first time when I was 42 years old. And I'm 52 years old now, and kind of as a hobby along the way, we opened a gym that does what I call the lifestyle fitness center, that does fitness and martial arts and blends them all together. But typically for people around our age, our average age in our gym is about 38 years old. And we don't have one mirror. It has a very unique culture in our gym. The idea is we're there to get results. And that's how the approach I take to all of the stuff that I do, and particularly even with how I work with Chris and Missy, it's very results centric. Now, we find ourselves, right, in all of our careers and all of our lives as a business owner, as a realtor, as a mom, and as a dad, right, as a husband and wife. We find ourselves in a very unique period of time right now, unlike anything that any of us has lived through in our time. And it brings up one of our biggest challenges that we have to embrace. And that's this idea of uncertainty. It runs in conflict with our DNA. We hate being uncertain. And it creates a whole lot of chaos out of that. Now, Chris brought up an interesting word, right at the beginning. He said, guys, I want to be an example of positivity. And I want to share with you another approach to that. And coming from a guy, a mindset guy, a peak performance guy, might sound a little weird, right? But I want to speak to the short side of being positive, meaning the part that doesn't work out. And some of you may be familiar with this. There's Jim Collins wrote about this in his book, Good to Great, about an admiral in the Navy during the Vietnam War called James Stockdale. James Stockdale was a prisoner of war for 7.5 years. And he was one of the very few surviving prisoners of war, even though he was the highest ranking officer in the camp. They could not break him for 7.5 years. That's why he survived. They physically abused him, tortured him over 30 times, to the point where by the time he left, they'd broken his legs so many times, they couldn't figure out how many times they were broken, and he couldn't walk on them any longer. The last 18 months of his incarceration, he was inside a 3-foot by 6-foot concrete cell with no windows. Picture the crap that we're looking at right now, the uncertainty and the concern, right, and the disruption. And for a moment, imagine being a prisoner of war during a Vietnam era, having no communication to the outside world, not knowing for certain if you'd ever see your wife again, if you ever see your kids again, when, if ever, you'd ever make it out again, watching those who went in with you die on a regular basis, being incarcerated in this tiny little cell, knowing that they want information in your head and they'll do anything up until your death to get it out of your head. That was the life he lived with, yet he survived. And he was interviewed deeply as to why he survived and others didn't. And there's a really, really important takeaway here. And it went like this. Others that were captured at the same time took the positivity path, the optimistic path, to a degree that they ignored their current circumstance. They created a false reality around what was really going on. So instead of coming to terms with it, they'd say something like, "Oh, we'll be out," because they were originally captured in August. "We'll be out by Halloween. We'll be home." Then when Halloween came and went, "Oh, we'll be home with our loved ones by Thanksgiving." And when Thanksgiving came, what they do? "Oh, Christmas. We'll be home by Christmas." And what do you think ultimately happened with that type of positivity? Well, it broke their soul and it broke their will to fight. And that's why one by one, those guys passed away. There's a small core of them, 5 strong, that banded together and kind of resisted from within. And they made a pact that they would die before they give up their information that the Vietnamese wanted so much, right? But they would not leave each other. Down to the point where James Stockdale, and he was a leader in incarceration, he created this tapping system. So even though they're all isolated in these solitary cells, through a tapping system, they could still communicate, and they weren't alone. And this is the paradox that came out of this. James Stockdale said, "You know what? You must never, ever lose faith that you will here in a moment. You never lose faith that you will prevail in the end. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you know you'll get out the other end. And at the exact same time, you got to accept your current reality, as brutal as it may be. Don't make it any better than it is, but don't make it any worse than it is. But accept it for what it is." And what that immediately allows you to do is to focus on the part of the equation that you can control and stop focusing on the part of the equation that you can't control. When we talk about stress and anxiety, particularly fear, right? Stress and anxiety immediately erupts when we start trying to control something that we can't control. And there's a lot of people running around right now that are uneasy with this unknown, right? Fear is rooted in uncontrollables, and we got one, the coronavirus. Unpredictables, well, it meets that box too. And things that we perceive to be chronic, lasting, we don't know the end. So this whole coronavirus thing meets like the 3 core roots of fear when it's attached to an uncertainty. It's uncontrollable, it's unpredictable, and it's long lasting. We don't know when we're going to get out of it. So naturally, that fear, and again, I'm going to compare fear and faith in a second here. Naturally, that fear is uncomfortable, and we want to do something about that. And one of the quickest ways to do something about that is if we can blame someone for our problem, it at least separates us from it. So we go to a blame mode. If that doesn't work, let's prove someone wrong about something as it relates to it. Because again, at least it makes us feel better in the moment because, I don't know, like we know something. And if that doesn't work, let's just prove ourselves right. And these are all ways to distract from this thing that we're not confronting, which is our current brutal reality. Now, if you were to take a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, line across the top, I'd say on the left, write the word controllable, and on the right, write the word uncontrollable. And you go through this exercise where you write down everything in your life that you cannot control right now. And you'd be surprised how many things will show up there. And they better include human beings too, because we can't control other people. We may think we can. We like to think we can, but we can't. Write down the things we can't control, right? The weather, the time, people. There's lots of things that are outside of our control. And on the left, write down things that are in our control. See, the media right now and all the branding, as I call it, that goes around this whole event, the fear mongering that sells, right, wants you and I to believe the same thing, that we are not in control of the situation. And the truth is, we are no more or less control now than we were a week ago or 10 weeks ago or months ago. And here's why. There is never a time that there are not circumstances going on around us. Do you guys all agree with that? There's always circumstances. This is just another one. We are no more or less in control of this one than we are other circumstances. It's just another circumstance. Now, does it have a lot of emotion attached to it? It does, right? Does it have a deeper impact? It does. But as it relates to control, our level of control is no different than, say, the weather. We can't control when, here on the East Coast, hurricanes show up. I don't know what you guys get. Tornadoes, maybe, I have no idea. You can't control any of that shit. It comes when it comes. In the wintertime, we have a fitness center. We open the doors by 5:30 in the morning. I can't control when it snows or doesn't snow, yet I require our trainers be there to open the doors. Does that mean they're out of control? No. On the right-hand side of their sheet of paper, we can't control the weather. On the left-hand side says we can control how the weather affects us. We can prepare for it. We can have a vehicle that can drive in it. We can have a vehicle that we're borrowing or renting to get to work. But we can alter the effect of the uncontrollable on us. So in other words, we can choose how we respond. And here's an interesting takeaway. This is where this magic takes place behind the scenes, right? Any event is defined, any circumstance is defined by how it affects the things around it. That makes sense, right? Looking back in history, we'll have a pretty good definition of the coronavirus. On hindsight, look at any weather system that's come through. We can put a definition to it based on how it's affected things, whether it's a flood or wind or temperature or whatever it may be. When we change the effect, we effectively have changed the circumstance. Does that make sense to you guys? If a hurricane comes through and has zero effect on you in any kind of way, does it matter if it was a Category 5 hurricane? If it affected you in no way, shape, or form? It would be, of course not. If it snowed out tomorrow morning, 4 inches of snow, which with the wrong car you wouldn't get to work, with the right car, it'd be irrelevant. Would it matter that it snowed? Of course not, with the right car. This is no different. So let's dive in a little deeper now on what we really can control. Let me ask you guys a question first, right? And I know you're muted out. You just speak to each other loud, right? Do you agree that the way we feel affects the way we think? Nod your heads. I can see you, so you might as well nod your heads. Of course. The answer is of course it does, right? Do you also agree that the way you think affects your actually decision making? Do the head nod thing again.
Sure.
At least that way I know you're listening. So then would you also agree then that your decision making affects your action taking, and your action taking is responsible for your results, right? So now we've created a direct path between the way we feel and our results. And you know what's not in the middle of this path? This circumstance out here. Irrelevant. I told you I stepped in a fighting cage at the first time I was 42 years old. Right before I stepped in, there was an old school UFC guy that was there. And he came up and joined me in a back locker room. I was the only one in there, sitting up on a bench, had my legs draped over the side, and I was just sitting there. And he saw there was stuff going on in my head. He came in and he leaned into me like this, put his hands on my knees, said, "Pat, I'm going to tell you something now. You're probably not going to get right now, but it'll make a lot of sense later in life." Pretty much after the fight. He goes, "This fight that you're worried about right now, that you're so focused on your opponent in there, he has nothing to do with this. This fight is going to be won or lost right here in the locker room, right here. He's got nothing to do with it. You got to make some decisions on how this is going to end up." He's 100% right. That's not just about fighting. That's life advice right there. But the part that makes sense as we're discussing here is what he's talking about is we focus on things we can't control. We give up our control. And then it results in stress and anxiety and fear, because now we're out of control. If we're not in control, we're out of control. And the way we regain that control is we bring it back home. I can't change what my opponent's going to do, but I can certainly decide on what I'm going to do. And when I focus on me, I'm back in control. I can alter the results, the outcome, because the way I feel determines the way I think. The way I think determines my decision making, my action taking, my results. So although I can't change the circumstance, I can change the way I react to the circumstance. But the moment I take the focus off of this, the left-hand side of the page, and I put it on that, the right-hand side of the page, I give up that control and all that other stuff creeps in. I'll share something with you. And this goes into, because this talk is more about us controlling ourselves, but this little piece has to do with the physical well-being of all of us while we go through this, right? When we're in a state of stress, when we're in a state of anxiety, when we're in a state of fight or flight, which that triggers us into our sympathetic nervous system, right? This is designed, fear is designed, it's an amazing tool to get our attention and draw all of our resources forward at one time so we can respond now to the threat. That's why fear exists. Like you're running down a path out in the woods and a freaking bobcat jumps out in front of you, wants to bite you and eat you and kill you, right? That's when fear is awesome, because we get super fast and run away, or we get superhuman strength and beat the thing up or something, right? But it draws everything we get front and center. That's how fear works. Our adrenals go nuts. We dump this adrenaline into our body and boom, we become superhuman. But that's just like a race car on a drag strip. That's dumping nitrous into the motor for that one sprint. But then we got to shut it down. If we don't shut it down, guess what? Things start to break. And this is where we tend to abuse fear. We don't give it a break. We allow ourselves to stay in a state of fear. We constantly trigger our sympathetic nervous system, which constantly triggers this dump of adrenaline, burning out our adrenals. You've heard that term, adrenal fatigue, right? Guess what else gets burnt out then? Our immune system. Our ability to stop viruses from attacking, penetrating our body, our cells. And that's exactly how viruses work. Unlike bacteria surround our cell, work on the outside. Viruses go to the center of our cell, release their little software program. They commandeer the cell. Now they're in charge of the cell. Then they start looking for weaker cells to replicate themselves. That's how viruses spread in our body. We have a natural immune system, a freaking wall. So when they get up there, they're dead in the water, up and until we break down our immune system. How do we break that down? Keep ourselves in a state of fear, a state of stress, anxiety. Allow this to play out. And the only way we get there is through here. Another question. Does the way you think, or can the way you think, determine the way you feel? Go like this. That's an absolute. Of course it can. We can think something, immediately trigger the way we feel, and a feeling, if you want to know the physiology internally, what's going on, is our body responding with our little chemical factory. Again, triggering that sympathetic nervous system, letting all those chemicals out, like we got a saber-tooth lion in front of us again, but we don't. Now, some of us take it one step further. We go to bed at night. We allow ourselves to think about this stuff. Stress and anxiety. We don't sleep well at night. You want to know what sleep does for us? It rebuilds our entire immune system. It replenishes all of our armor that's set up to defend against all the nasty stuff that attacks us. And when we don't sleep well, guess what? We wake up the next morning more depleted than we were the day before. We're even less prepared to take on this battle. So I'm just giving you guys a little insight here for no other reason to express how critically important it is that we win what's going on between our ears. We all have people that look up to us, that pay attention to us, which means we are all leaders in our own capacity. whether it be mom, dad, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, people silent that are out there that watch what you do and never say a word, but they're lingering, letting you lead the way. Which means we have a responsibility to be the best version of us and show them the way. Not everybody wants to lead, and certainly not everybody wants to lead in a time of crisis. As a matter of fact, most people who said, leader, 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 not a leader during a time of crisis, because there's a lot of risk. What if you lead wrong? If you stick to these basics, you'll never lead wrong, right? Because somebody's got to always go first. And leaders, like many of you are, right, are the right person to do so. So if I were to sum up this one little piece, okay? And I share this with my family. So I have a wife of 27 years now. I have a 21-year-old son, 18-year-old daughter, I forgot that her age. And then my youngest is 15. So I have one a freshman in high school. I got a sophomore in college and one out of school, right? And they're all back home, in case you're wondering, because they got nowhere else to be right now. School shut down. I share this with them. I said, listen, likely you guys will get infected with the virus. Our whole family likely will. That's the truth of it. Now, I have a 83-year-old mom, too, that lives right across the street there, and I'm her caregiver. So you see the challenge we're already up against here. I told my kids, we got to do our job, so when that virus hits us, man, we knock it down. Be prepared. Do our part. And I go through the same little exercise I'm sharing with you guys here. We've got to not fall prey to social media, not fall prey to the news, not wake up every morning, turn on the news just so they can scream at us and tell us how many new cases there are and how many new deaths there are. Does any of us need that first thing in the morning? Hell no. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. The best thing we can do right now is wake up and win the morning, meaning own the morning so that we own the day. Owning the morning means prop ourselves up, whatever it takes, whether it be meditation, exercise, music, whatever it takes. Build ourselves up to 100% first thing in the morning so we can plow through the day and not be subject to all this crap that everybody else has got to deal with. They're going to need that, right? Talk about fear and faith for a second. Here's the funny thing about both of them. They're very similar in context, meaning they're both made up. Both fear and faith are not founded in fact. The difference, though, is this. Fear is fueled and exists because we don't know. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the uncertainty is the root core of all fear. Think about that. That is the foundation building blocks to all fear. Uncertainty, not knowing. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, all those things. That's why fear exists. Made up, we don't have any facts on why we're being afraid because we don't even know. It's the fear of the unknown. Faith is similar in that it's also unknown. If it was a proven outcome, it would then be a belief. Beliefs are supported and founded in fact. Faith, an example are religions, for those of you who want to apply it there. Right? We have faith in something that we've never seen or touched, right? Talk about it a lot, read about it a lot, but we were never there firsthand. We have to have faith that exists. The difference in faith is this, and this is the way Jim Stockdale looked at it as well. We've chosen an outcome that we are so committed to, we are certain in achieving it. We've added certainty into the equation. So instead of being left aimless over here in the uncertainty of fear, faith gives us absolute certainty because we believe in it that much. Does that make sense to you guys? That's the fundamental difference between the two of them. And that's why Jim Stockdale says it's so critical. Forget about, the typical positivity stuff, right? Like out of the book, The Secret kind of positivity stuff, right? Forget about that for a second. Totally different than having faith that we will prevail. And I have absolute faith that we're going to be better humans, better individuals, better parents, better teachers, better leaders, better country when we come out of this. And we're going to have some scars to show the work that we did as well. And that's okay. We can't ever lose sight of the fact that we are in the most prosperous, abundant, opportunistic time in all of history. As far as we've recorded, there's never been a better time to be alive than now. Unarguably. This little event is a little speck on a radar screen, but it will define us individually based on how we choose to let it affect us. That all kind of makes sense there, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. That's I guess that's you know, absolutely true. I mean, it's as far as how it defines us and everything else. Like Patrick, like I guess like my advice, and I haven't even talked to you about this last week, is we're working at home, we're building a business and everything else like that. We're just, like you said, the morning reset, like don't even look at the TV. And that's one thing I definitely need to do. But you know, what's your suggestion of like getting sucked into social media and just like all the other crap, like after that, like just what, because it happens.
Yeah, you know,
Train wreck.
and so no doubt, I mean, it's as much a threat to me as it is to anybody, right? And so I've created a couple rules here around my own use. Number one, there's nothing I need to know new about the coronavirus on a daily basis, period. I know enough. I know that it's extremely contagious. I know who's at most threat. I know, I understand how a virus works, and I walk around with the assumption that everybody out there has it, and I have it too, and I should take precautions accordingly. My mom's 83 years old. I'm her caregiver. I don't go in her house now, okay? I bring all her stuff over. I clean it up. I put it at her stoop, and when I walk away, she reaches out. It sucks. I love my mom. We're Irish Catholic. We're like huggers and all that kind of stuff, right? Can't do it. We had to cancel St. Patty's Day dinner at our house, which my mom makes every year. Broke her heart, right? We've got to make certain sacrifices so we can get through the end of this. With social media, unless you can go on your social media and it elevates you, I'd say get the hell off it. Now, let's be honest. Many of us are addicted by the dopamine rush we get off of getting elevated on social media. We like feeling angry. Just call it what it is. We like that kind of angst. We even like fighting back. We like defending ourselves. That's creating a treason against yourself right now. That's challenging that sympathetic nervous system. That's diminishing your immune system. You need everything you got right now. So if you're okay knowing that every time you do that, you're taking part of your defense away, you know, I'm not making decisions on for anyone, but you got to be aware of that, right? And who's that? Just, I don't know what the name is. Says I follow personal development groups. That's awesome, you know? And even in, so you still got to be aware, right? A personal development group is believe me, that's my space, right? But I would say don't get caught up in ones that get too far on one side to say if you just create a vision board, all your shit will come to life, right? No, it doesn't work that way. And positivity is the same way. This is where we need go to the other side and be extremely stoic about what's going on. Let's accept our reality for exactly as we see it. No better, no worse. You know, the way we look at emotions, right, is this. All emotions lie to us, and to the degree that the emotion is elevated is directly relative to how big the lie is. Look at an emotion as a set of eyeglasses, and the more elevated the emotion, the thicker the lens on the eyeglass, which means that as you try to see the real world and interpret all the facts coming in, you get less and less a clear view of what's going on, and you get more and more misinformed by the emotion, whether it be extreme fear or extreme optimism. Both of them lie. This is why do you think there's when they talk about selling, right? They want to get you all pumped up and motivated and excited, particularly say in a biz ops space, particularly if you're at a seminar up on stage, because they know once they got you energized and motivated, you'll help them build yourself up. Your emotions will make the sale for them. But if they let you go home, get in a more analytical, critical side of the thinking part of the brain, maybe this guy's kind of full of crap and this doesn't make so much sense anymore. That's how our brain works. Fear works the same way. Fear makes things look much worse than they are. So the key, no glasses, peel them off. So this falls under the title of emotional intelligence, which I'm sure most of you have heard of that, EQ, emotional intelligence, right? And it's our ability to recognize our emotions, what triggers them, and then manage them so they don't own us. Now, the one thing, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, Chris, the one thing that separates any of us from, like, I don't know, like our average house dog, right? Being all mammals, is this magic skill we have. When we get emotionally triggered, right? And we all do. Every single one of us gets triggered. Something happens and bam, we get hit with an emotion, right? Every single one of us, because you guys told me the emotion triggers a thought pattern, and it does, right? That's kind of like, everyone says, don't judge. What do you mean don't judge? We all judge. Let's peel back the curtain on all this stuff, right? We all judge. It's built in. It's automated. What happens next, though, is important. Emotion gets triggered. Thinking pattern comes up. We can stop. Think about what we're thinking about. Identify whether or not that thought is going to lead us to where we want to go or not. Because remember, thought, decision, action, result is the way I'm thinking right now going to move me down the path to where I want to be. Yes or no. And if the answer is no, we have this magic power to stop and think something different. It's the coolest power in the world. And all we got to do is ask ourselves, what's the result I desire, and walk it backwards? What's the thinking I need to get to that result? And then the process starts all over. Thinking, the way we think affects the way we think, the way we feel triggers a new thought pattern that's in complete alignment to where we want to go. Does it at times require a bit of humility? Of course. Does it at times require we kind of tune down our ego or self-image a little sometimes? Yeah, it does. But at the end of the day, if results are most important, then we have a responsibility to start stepping up into these roles. Somebody told me the other day, Chris said, oh man, it's not my fault. I got anger issues when I'm driving, road rage. And like, you're talking to the wrong guy, man. I got to call you on this stuff. That's BS. You don't have road rage. You get excited about being angry. You get that dopamine rush and it feels good. You're addicted to being a dick. I don't know how else to say it. Sometimes you got to be straight with people, right? To get their attention. Yeah, you're addicted to being an ass. But at the end of the day, let's follow this home. You get all fired up on the highway. By the time you get home, you're still in this negative, elevated energy. You walk in the house, you open the door, there's your wife and your kids are over there, and that negative wall of energy hits them first. They feel that. Then you walk in and you say hi, and they respond in a tonality that's not comfortable to you. Not because they chose to, because a response to the energy that you just slammed them with. You get upset out of the tonality. You're already elevated. You respond back. Before you know it, your entire night has been burnt to the ground. So yeah, that little dopamine hit you get for being an ass, is it really worth that result? We've got to take a little ownership in this stuff. This is how it plays out. And we have superpowers. Why do you think our dogs listen to us? Because we're more powerful than them. We're the alphas. We can do things they can't. Guess what? If a dog pisses off another dog, they fight. That's how it happens. They don't even want to fight, they fight. But they have this response mechanism they can't do anything about. And if when they're done, they're done. Us humans, right? We could do something about it. We just choose not to. Then we're done. We're not done. We let that shit drag on for days. Grudges, we call them. You ever see a dog hold a grudge? People are like, well, how would you even know? Well, is the dog still pissed off or not, right? It kind of sounds like a funny conversation, but this stuff is real. I know Chris wanted me to keep this kind of short, and I am not good at doing that. So
let's open up, Patrick. Let's just ask. We had some questions. Like, one thing that was really good is Travis, and this is the whole thing. Travis is on the social media. I'm on social media, right? But I mean, yeah. for our business. He says the necessary evil for business. So what you're talking about is a filter, just to filter everything through, and social media is huge. And I get it. Just don't. What you're saying is don't go after the attacking dog.
Yeah. What's necessary on social media for business is us going out and being an influencer and being a leader. That's what's necessary. Buying into all this other garbage and reading it is not necessary. Be the one. Put the posts out there. Create the conversation. Respond to them. No one says being on social media forces you to read all this garbage over here. Now, listen, I'm not like standing here as a hypocrite. Well, I am if I didn't say this, because what I'm trying to say is I get it, because I find myself getting sucked in sometimes too. Like, man, that guy's really being a moron. And for some reason, I feel really obligated to let him know he's being a moron by trying to say something really smarter than what he just said. I mean, when you talk it out loud, it doesn't sound too smart, right? But that's the path we go down. The answer is no. No, it's okay if what they're saying is really stupid and you don't say anything about it. It's actually a lot better than saying anything about it. My wife, and she's very good at reminding me this. She said, Pat, when you go and fight with an idiot, everybody watching sees two idiots fighting. Like, thanks, son, you just called me an idiot. But she's right. We have to own that kind of stuff, right? So the answer is yes, Chris. We do need a spot on social media. It's so important in our lives, particularly seeing the fact that so many people are in it and on it, and that's what, especially now, But no, that does not excuse us to get caught up in these cat fights that play no value. And my wife is 100% right. When you see people bickering online, everybody just looks idiotic. It's just how it is. Like who, if you look at somebody carrying on online, who would sit back and say, wow, that dude must have such an important role to play in this world that he's spending all his time bickering with somebody on Facebook. It just doesn't make any sense, right?
So no, that's perfect. And then the one thing is I wanted to, everybody on here, Patrick does the real estate arena. And one thing with Patrick is he's been through these curves.
Yeah.
And he's seen this before when things went to short sales and everything just kept diving, like, this is a virus, this is something different. But what do you have, Patrick, for us to do? Like, if you were to tell us like maybe a few key components of what we should be focusing on right now for our business, because just to focus going forward.
Yeah. So you brought up the last one, 2008. We were deep in it in the real estate investment side, so it affected us deeply. We just happen to also have a loss mitigation department, a short sale department at the same time, which we ended up kind of pivoting, putting in all our efforts in there, which got us through it. But I'll say this about some of the differences, right? Back then, we had an oversupply of houses. We had a lot of artificial demand created by the handing out of money to anyone. And then we had the banks involved creating layer after layer after layer of these financial products that created such a deep problem. Banks are nowhere near, today they're so much better than they were back then for a number of different levels, okay? And the challenges that brought us to where we were last time are unlike what's going on now. Last time we had a collective of a bunch of different things create a perfect storm, and it included everything. It touched everything. That's why it went so deep and so long. Right now, it's a little different in that we have a catalyst being this virus. There's such a high level, and there's going to be such a high level of unemployment, not because there aren't jobs, but it's because no one's allowed to go to their job. And the difference is this: when there's not enough jobs, it takes a long time for businesses to ramp back up and build jobs that weren't there. But when we just close our doors, the businesses that are still here when we're done, as soon as we're done this, we'll reopen our doors, and immediately all of these jobs will come back online. Now, the unknown, right? The big unknown is how long it goes. Another key point to bring out, Chris, when we hit 2008, 2009, we shut off new construction for all intents and purposes. And we need something like I don't know, 1.5 million new homes a year built, something along those lines. But now we had a large inventory of built up property. Okay. The next step here, we started building no homes for 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It wasn't until 15 till we started any real numbers of homes, 500,000 homes a year. But where it leaves us today, we're still way underbuilt. So in most markets, there's an undersupply of homes. People need shelter. So when we do come out of this, right, we are going to, this is not going to be a deep dive and then a long, slow, anemic path back out like it was last time. And if you look at even our GDP last time, year over year, it was slow, right? This time it's going to go down like this, and we're going to get through this hump, and it's going to come right back up. It's going to be shaped like a V. So what's important for us, right, is we put ourselves in a position that we see that coming and we jump on it right away. Staying in contact with customers, staying out there in front of potential customers, letting people know that we're going to be okay. Let them be, you be their bright light. You be their rock. You be their lighthouse. And they'll come looking for you as soon as we get through this. I don't believe, and this, believe me, I'm the last one to blow smoke up anybody's butt on this. I don't believe this is going to be a long ride. I think we have, we're going to get bloodier, no doubt. Like by this time next week, there are going to be thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people infected. And to be more clear on that statement, they're already infected. We're going to know about it. And the media is going to hammer us. Now, you guys all know better than to pay attention to the media, but everybody else doesn't. And they're going to fall prey to it. And this is where those people who said they want to lead are all going to cower and hide. And I say this all the time, Chris. This is like picture everybody swimming in the ocean on high tide, right? And tide going out, and now we find out who's skinny dipping. That's what's going to happen here, right? It's going to reveal who people really are, and that's how crisis works. The way to take advantage of, I don't want to use the word take advantage, the way to optimize this opportunity is have your bathing suit on. Come clean on this. Be the bright light through all of this. Be loud, be vocal in a positive, strong way. And know that deals are still happening. Transactions are still happening. Don't be like, oh, guys, no, I don't think so. No, why can't we transact? There are a lot of people who are still fully employed. We know many will not be, but many will be. So outside that, Chris, I don't know what else, knowing how long it's going to go, I could specifically say. But I know the people that stay out in front of this are going to be the ones that are going to be on that way back up, the ones that everybody's looking to do business with,
Yeah, that's quite true. We just don't know. Like you said, we just have to weather it day by day and build from it,
We have a gym. We do over 300 classes a month in our gym. As of last Monday night, a week ago, they locked our doors, said you can't do classes. Your gyms are closed, which your first thought would be shuts down our gym, right? But we brought our entire gym online. And by Tuesday morning, we had our first class, 5:30 in the morning, live. And now we're up to about, I think, 18 classes a week. And now we're adding in nutritional advice. And this coming Friday, we're doing our first online social happy hour, right? Online from your home. We're all going to get together. We have a nice little community. So what we're doing, and this is the big part here, Chris, we have our members, right? But now we opened up this entire online academy, if you will, to the public. And you and I talked about this.
Absolutely.
So listen, we understand people are in trouble. I know personally that it's important to keep this healthy, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And we do a great job at that at our gym. So we open up to everybody. And this goodwill, right, it's what's going to serve us well when we come out the other end, however long that takes. But I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, our gym doors are shut. We can't do classes and we're dead in the water. We're going to kind of adapt, pivot, and still bring tremendous value to people, even a bigger base of people, and it'll serve us super well down the road. We had somebody, I shared that with you, I think, Chris. As soon as the NBC heard we were doing it, they sent a news crew out to interview me. And I'm like, cool. Like, I couldn't pay for that kind of advertising. Here they are offering it for free, right? That's the kind of stuff that comes back around. We'll use our heads a little and pivot to where we're needed at the time. That make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you didn't tell me about the news. That's awesome. That's that organic grassroots stuff.
Yeah.
Being original,
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, does anybody have any quick questions, or is everybody good to go? I agree. Just look at some of the comments. Yeah. We're good, guys?
Good to go to some good information.
You bet. You bet. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Patrick, for tonight. I know you got to jump on a call here shortly, and we really appreciate you spending time with all of us here. Great advice. Thank you for everything you do.
And guys, I'll just remind you one more time, man. We're in the most prosperous time our country has ever seen. The most opportunistic time ever recorded. This is just a piece of it, right? And I know all of us are being met with challenges right now. And I'll tell you something that I've learned a long time ago, and it never fails to be true, that there is no challenge that you're presented with that you are not big enough to take on. It wouldn't be given to you if you weren't that big a person. Just remember that. Whether we take it on is up to us, but we have the ability to take on whatever's thrown at us. It's been a pleasure, guys, and thank you very much, Chris.
All right, thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That was awesome.
Appreciate it, Rachel.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris. Patrick.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris and Patrick.
Chris, thanks.
Yeah.